The phone exploded with a shrill ring at 2 in the morning. I bolted upright in bed, heart slamming against my ribs in the dark. Karen's name lit up the screen like a warning I already knew too well. "Jacob, this is a total emergency with the HOA retention pond right now," she shrieked into my ear. "You must wire $3,000 immediately or the whole neighborhood floods tonight." I rubbed my eyes trying to process her panicked tone in the stuffy bedroom. The scent of Sarah's shampoo still hung in the air from earlier. But this was my mother-in-law Karen, the self-crowned queen of our suburban HOA. I had moved here with Sarah 2 years ago, chasing that perfect American dream life. Our street featured identical beige houses with lawns cut like putting greens. Karen ran the Homeowners Association board with an iron fist wrapped in pastel cardigans. At first her rules felt like harmless neighborhood nitpicking I could ignore. She emailed me once about my trash cans left out an hour too long. Then another notice claimed my front yard flowers were the wrong shade of red. I mowed the lawn at exactly the approved height every Saturday morning. The fresh-cut grass smell always mixed with my growing irritation. Karen loved patrolling in her white golf cart eyes, scanning for violations. She would wave at neighbors while spreading quiet rumors about my attitude. My buddy Jacob noticed it first during one of our usual backyard beers. "Man, your L is turning into a full HOA dictator," he joked one evening. I laughed it off, but the fines started showing up in our mailbox anyway. $50 here for a crooked flag, 20 more for bushes not trimmed right. The pressure built slowly like a storm cloud over our quiet cul-de-sac. Karen began calling at dinner time with new complaints in her sugary voice. "You just don't understand community standards, Jacob dear," she would say every time. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table, trying to keep the peace at home. I stayed calm on the outside, but inside I was boiling with resentment. Then the real nightmare kicked off on a bright Tuesday afternoon. Karen pounded on our front door, her face flushed and eyes dramatically wide. "There is a critical emergency at the community pond. It is about to overflow," she announced. She shoved an official assessment paper into my hands, demanding payment by tomorrow. $3,000 wired straight to the special HOA emergency account she named. Sarah looked worried, her fingers twisting the hem of her shirt nervously. To avoid more drama and liens on our house, I wired the money that night. The retention pond had looked perfectly dry and normal when I jogged past it yesterday. That evening suspicion gnawed at me while I stared at the ceiling fan spinning. I could not shake the feeling this so-called crisis was pure Karen theater. The next morning I texted my friend Jacob, who knew numbers better than anyone. We met at the corner coffee shop where the espresso machine hissed steadily. "Help me trace exactly where that $3,000 actually landed," I told him quietly. Jacob cracked his knuckles and opened his laptop with a focused grin. We spent the next 2 weeks digging through public records and transfer logs together. No contractor bids existed and no work crews ever showed up at the pond. The funds had flowed directly into a personal account tied to Karen herself. I started recording every single call with her after that discovery hit. Her voice always dripped with fake concern and that familiar superior tone. "You would not believe the pressure I face running this HOA, Jacob," she sighed once. Meanwhile, she escalated the harassment with daily letters about minor rule breaks. My bushes were suddenly the wrong height according to her latest inspection. Neighbors started avoiding eye contact at the community mailbox cluster every afternoon. The gossip chain hummed louder and the stairs felt heavier on my back. My stomach tightened every time I heard the buzz of her golf cart approaching. I kept my voice steady during our calls, but the anger simmered underneath. Then Karen made the fatal mistake that cracked her whole scheme open. She accidentally copied the entire HOA board on an email meant only for her assistant. It bragged about using the emergency cash for her brand new patio furniture set. Finally treating myself after all my hard volunteer work, the message read smugly. I forwarded the screenshot to Jacob, my pulse racing with cold satisfaction. This was the smoking gun we needed to expose her fake emergency completely. The tension in my chest finally shifted from dread to something sharper and focused. I prepared every document and recording with meticulous care over the following days. At the emergency HOA board meeting held in the stuffy community center hall, I stood up slowly, my voice calm but carrying across the folding chairs. Karen, the pond assessment money was never used for any actual repairs, I stated clearly. She gripped the podium, her knuckles white and her smile frozen in place. You are lying and trying to ruin my reputation with these baseless attacks, she snapped back. Then in a flash of pure desperation she yanked out her phone and dialed 911. Officers, my son-in-law is threatening me violently right here in the meeting, she screamed loudly. The room went dead silent except for the echo of her shrill fake panic. 2 police officers arrived minutes later, their radios crackling under the fluorescent lights. I played the recordings and laid out the bank traces without raising my voice once. The cops exchanged glances, clearly annoyed at the obvious waste of their time. That chaotic night became the exact moment her carefully built empire started crumbling. I called a full special board meeting for the following week with all evidence ready. Jacob sat beside me, offering quiet nods as the board reviewed every detail. The financial trail showed the money diverted straight to Karen's personal credit cards. Board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats as the truth sank in deep. Karen tried one last emotional appeal, claiming it was all a family misunderstanding. But the HOA bylaws were crystal clear about misusing collected funds for personal gain. They voted right there on the spot to remove her as president immediately and permanently. Her face drained of color as the gavel came down with a final sharp crack. The once feared Karen now looked small and ordinary under the harsh meeting lights. Word raced through the neighborhood by the next morning like wildfire in dry grass. Former allies whispered openly about her scams at the weekend block party. I sat on my front porch the following evening with a cold beer in hand. The manicured lawns stretched peacefully under the golden sunset without her shadow. Sarah leaned against my shoulder, the relief visible in her relaxed posture. My buddy Jacob stopped by later and we clinked bottles in quiet celebration. The air smelled sweeter now without the constant threat of her next demand. No more surprise finds or midnight calls disrupted our quiet suburban routine. The golf cart stayed parked in her driveway, gathering dust for the first time. In the end, this whole mess revealed how tiny power corrupts people completely. Karen faked an emergency just to squeeze money and control from her own family. But tracking every dollar with cold logic and evidence always brings the real justice. The neighborhood feels lighter now and the lawns stay green without the drama. Yet I still smile at the deep irony whenever her golf cart stays silent.